Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of A Little Bit Unglamorous. I'm your host, Erica Renee, and we have a lot to go over. It's post-Eras Tour. I have been talking about this concert for the last 9 months. Since in November, I was lucky enough to score tickets from Ticketmaster. We all know that debacle. I'm here today. I have my blue crew neck that I am never taking off. And can we take a minute for the nails? I recreated Taylor's famous Eras nails for tour. I know I did them once before. I just couldn't not recreate them for the actual concert day. And I have my Reputation snake ring. So I do have some notes this week for pop culture updates, but it might get bumped for Taylor Swift. That's just the way it's gonna go, so we'll see how long I end up talking, but we are gonna do the ultimate Eras Tour recap this week. I'm gonna go through everything from the beginning to the end, from purchasing the tickets to showing up the day of, things that didn't go quite according to plan, things that turned out amazing, my tips for you if you are going to tour. I know she's doing a concert tonight. It's Monday, the day that I'm recording, and her last date is going to be Wednesday in LA. It's the last concert of the US leg of the tour, which she will be doing a second leg of the US tour, I believe, in Miami, Louisiana, and she'll probably announce more dates. I know she finally announced Canada and the international dates. I was pretty amped because the blue crew neck in LA has the international dates on the back, and I'm going to go over all of that. I have my Frosé in my fancy glass for this episode, so buckle up and we're going to get started. So, gotta take a drink for this. So I went to night 3 in LA at SoFi Stadium. I had never been there before. The stadium is pretty new, I believe only 2 years old, and it seats up to 100,000 people. And that's with the expanded seating out on the field, and it was a sold out show. And let me tell you, I'm not really a huge concert goer. My boyfriend's a very big concert goer, and he was so amped for me for this concert, and he wasn't able to make it. So my mom and I went together, and we had so much fun. And let me tell you, I have never seen it was such an overwhelmingly amazing experience. I had never seen a stadium filled to the brims. Every single seat had someone screaming her lyrics, every single lyric. I have never seen anything like it before. It was such a cool experience, and I cannot wait to share all the details with you. So, we're going to start with how I got my tickets. So like I said, I was lucky enough to win the Ticketmaster Great War, and I sat in the queue for hours, pretty much all day, and I purchased the tickets that I was first offered without even thinking about it, because I know people are getting kicked out of the queue, not getting tickets at all, and these are the people that were lucky enough to get the pre-sale tickets, which that was a whole debacle as well. But I was lucky enough to get a pre-sale code. I was in the line, and I was in the line for hours. Picked up the first tickets that I was offered after, I'm pretty sure, 3.5 hours of being in the queue. And so they're in the nosebleeds, but I was lucky enough to be right in front of the view, so right in front of Taylor, just very, very high up. And if you have a chance to do that, honestly, there's no bad seat in the house. I mean, I know they're selling obstructed view tickets, and I met a couple of people who actually did buy those tickets, and oftentimes it's people that are trying to go to multiple shows, and there's so many big screens that it almost, if it's not your one and only show, it's completely worth it. I think I met one girl in line that said she spent $65 for an obstructed view ticket, and it's basically right there behind the stage, which I think is kind of cool. They were also selling standing room tickets, and that view is pretty phenomenal as well, and everybody was standing pretty much the entire time anyway, so those are some food for thought for you. But so I was told the chances of getting tickets were about the same as getting into Harvard, so I knew I should have applied to some Ivy Leagues over here, or I should at least buy some lottery tickets moving forward, because everybody that I told I got tickets was just astounded, and they wanted to know how much I paid for them after market, and I know some people were spending thousands of dollars on them, and also not to mention flights and hotels, and the hotel for me was actually more expensive than the tickets, which is pretty impressive. I do say so myself. I'm just a lucky one, I guess. So I got the tickets for, I don't remember. It's been so long now, but I feel like it was $380 out the door for 2 tickets with all of the fees and stuff on top of it, which pretty dang good. So especially because this was my first Taylor concert, she's worth every single penny, and the show, she performed for 3 hours alone, so you really get your bang for your buck with her show. Oh my gosh, it was just an amazing experience. So I took an extended weekend, and it was great. I'm still coming down from my 4-day weekend, and I drove out to Palm Springs to pick up my mom since she was going to go to the concert with me. Spent the night, Thursday night here, Friday drove up to LA, and we checked in to our hotel. So I decided to go up a night before the concert, just because I really wanted to experience the concert completely. I didn't want to be stressed, rushed, so I really wanted to come in the night prior, which I think is a great idea if you are able to do that. So we're going to start with the hotel, which I would say is the only thing that didn't really go according to plan. So I stayed at the 4 Points Sheraton in downtown Los Angeles, and I had been to the 4 Points in Yuma before, and let me say, it's just, the Yuma one is spectacular, amazing, so clean. It just feels like the most luxurious experience. They have a bar in the hotel, and it's just beautiful, clean, top-notch. So I looked up the 4 Points for downtown Los Angeles, and the website looked amazing. Exactly what I imagined it to be. They had a restaurant inside the hotel. They had a little coffee shop. The photos look clean and amazing. And you know how a lot of times photos end up being so much nicer than the actual venue. But I truly believe that it was going to look exactly like that, because it looked exactly like the one I had been to prior. Well, spoiler alert, this was like the Shein version of that. It was not the same experience. I don't know if it's just because of the location, but it was definitely the dubbed down version. But I wasn't too disappointed, just because, you know, the hotel is really only a small part of the experience. You're really there for the show. So I was willing to take anything I could get, pretty much. But for the price that I paid, you expect a certain level of, I guess, luxury when you stay at a hotel. You're trying to have a nice experience, right? I wasn't booking a Motel 6 for that reason. So we pull up to the hotel, and immediately there is yelling and air horns and picketers all along the front of the hotel, just nonstop yelling, and I had no idea what was going on. And it turns out, coincidentally, that just a month prior, in June, I believe, or maybe it was July, but I think it was just a month prior, because I booked the hotel about 2 months out, so in June. And in July, I guess the hospitality workers decided to go on strike for more money. And I had no idea that this had happened. Obviously, it was not a thing when I had booked it. It's obviously not a thing that they had advertised. So we roll up to the hotel, no idea that this is happening, and we're just taken aback. And immediately I am concerned, of course. So we walk in. I had to walk past the picket lines to check in. The room wasn't ready yet, which makes sense because most of their workers are on strike right now with the union. So we had to wait a little bit, not too long, like 20 extra minutes for the room. Get up to the room, and it is dirty. It's not completely clean, not unstable. Let me make that clear. Not disgusting, but things like the mirror not being cleaned down. It wasn't the experience I was expecting, which if that was just that, I'm totally fine, trust me. But it happened to be that our room was right in front of the hotel. We were on the 3rd floor and facing the front. So the window was right there, and you could hear the picketers and the air horns going off all day long from about 5 a.m. to 9. So that was something that I was not accounting for when I booked the hotel. So service was definitely affected by this. The bar that I had been the bar/restaurant that I had been so excited to eat at was closed. And they had a little coffee shop also closed. The coffee shop was closed for both days. The bar actually did open the second night, but we made it back so late from the concert we didn't get a chance to go. I really wanted to have dinner there the first night, but that didn't work out the way that I had wanted, and it was just a big factor in me booking the hotel because I didn't want to have to leave to do everything. I thought it'd be very convenient to have a drink there, have dinner there, so that was a bummer. So for $200 a night, it looked kind of like a beaten down old cruise ship, and it was kind of giving me Hotel Cecil vibes a little bit. So like I said, I don't know if it's just the LA area, if all the buildings are just older, but note to self, next time I go to LA, if I want the LA experience, I gotta make enough money to stay at the Ritz or something. So maybe that was my bad. So the area wasn't the best, which is why I wanted a hotel that I could really feel safe in and feel like we had a lot of options to do things in, and that would kind of make us feel like we were on vacation. So that was a bummer. It is what it is. It worked out. We had somewhere to stay. I was just very worried that I wouldn't even get a hotel ticket because of so many people flying in and trying to go to this concert. And I also thought the prices would be absolutely outrageous, which they were definitely very high when I was looking into it closer to the concert. So I'm glad that I booked the hotel when I did. So if you're going, definitely book your hotel far out immediately, at least 2 months in advance if you want to have a price that is somewhat reasonable. So we checked in on Friday at the hotel around 3 o'clock, got up to our room, unpacked everything, and I really wanted to scope out the venue the day before because in my mind, I really wanted to check out the merch. I didn't want to be worried about standing in lines the day of. I had heard horror stories of people being in line for 5 hours, 6 hours for merch over this freaking blue crew neck. And I just thought to myself, okay, if we go and we scope it out, and I had heard that if you go while Taylor is performing to the merch booth, you have a much better chance of having no lines, and hopefully what you want is not sold out. So I was like, okay, note to self, we're going to go on Friday. She had a show on Friday, so when everybody's in the venue, we will check out the merch It'll be great. And now I remember telling myself the same thing when Record Store Day happened. And in my mind, I thought I might actually get 2 vinyls, her limited edition vinyl of the Long Pond Studios sessions, if you recall, because my boyfriend was going to go to a record store for me and I was going to go to one. And I thought, this will be easy. It's great. There's 100,000 copies. No problem. I have 0 copies today, and now the record is being sold for about $200 a pop. So that didn't work out in my favor. So I felt like it was going to be a repeat of that. So I was prepared to walk away empty-handed, of course. But so I also wanted to check out how expensive the Ubers would be with everybody trying to go to this venue at the same time. So the day of, when we decided to go to the venue around 4:30 or so, Uber was only $10 to get 2 miles to the stadium, which was amazing, which I thought it would be so much higher. I was very shocked by that. We showed up. Our Uber driver was freaking awesome. He even played Taylor Swift on the way there, gave us some tips on where we should be dropped off at the venue since they had different zones, and I didn't realize that there were different gate entries. So I had to account for which entry we were, and that was what area we needed to be in. So make sure you check your ticket ahead of time and find out where your gate is, because the way my venue was set up is you enter through your specific gate, and if it's the wrong gate, then you have to leave the venue to go to the right gate. The whole stadium wasn't attached. So I think that actually helped a lot for crowd control, but it's something that I'm glad I scoped out ahead of time and realized, so that way I wouldn't have been in a debacle at the last minute scurrying to try to find my right gate, because I believe once you enter, you're not allowed to leave. So the Ubers were reasonably priced. I believe the most I paid was $35, and that was Saturday night after everyone was trying to call the Uber at once after the concert. Granted, just my luck, apparently there was another event going on at the Forum, which was a few blocks down, so all of the Ubers were going there. So Ubers were canceling on me, and it took forever to get one, and we were exhausted at this point. It was 1:30, almost 2 in the morning, but in my mind, it was almost worth it to wait for an Uber. I was even willing to pay more money because, like everywhere, and it's like this in San Diego too, but whenever there's a large event, there's always random people that are like, oh, anybody need a ride? Do not get in a stranger's car. Don't do that. Pay double the price and make sure you don't get murdered and thrown in a ditch. That's just my opinion. And this was very much the case for this venue as well, and especially the area being a little seedy. Highly, highly, highly would not recommend doing that. So on Friday, we showed up to the venue. There's so many fun photo ops that are set up. iHeartRadio was there, and they had like a cute iHeartRadio thing, like a iHeartRadio backdrop you could take photos with. And once everybody went into the venue around 4:30 and the opening acts were starting, there were 0 lines. They had merch booths outside as well, and I was scoping out what they had at the booths, and I went up and I kind of asked the person running the booth or one of the people there if they had the blue crew neck, because I didn't want to stand in this line. At that point, there were still people in the line if it wasn't there, which they informed me the blue crew neck is only sold inside the arena. And I believe they're doing that because the first few shows, scalpers showed up and they were getting dozens of these freaking crew necks. They showed up with suitcases selling them out. So anybody could show up and just buy up the merch. So the blue crew neck is only available in the venue if you are trying to get one of those. And I'm going to tell you my opinion on the best way to do the whole merch situation in a little bit as well. Trying to go a little bit in chronological order, and I'm going to go in extreme detail. So the infamous merch truck was also right outside the venue. I really wanted to get a picture with it because I saw so many people with cool photos. But the only merch I really wanted was the blue crew neck, and since it wasn't being sold outside, I didn't want to waste my time standing in any sort of line for the merch. And apparently the way that it was set up is the truck was sectioned off, so the only way to go take a photo with it was if you stood through the line, bought some merch, and then were exiting. So I didn't get to do that, unfortunately. So I definitely recommend that prior to getting in line, make sure they have what you want, because I know a lot of shows were saying that things sold out so quickly. I don't know if I had just planned ahead of time and knew exactly what I wanted, but I felt like they had plenty of stuff available at this show. Or maybe it's just because I bum rushed the merch stand immediately on Saturday because I knew that that was something that part of the experience that I wanted. Something also cool about the LA shows, at least it was Friday and Saturday, so night 2 and 3, they were filming the shows and they were cameramen walking around, and when I was walking around the venue on Friday, I did see a cameraman who was filming B-roll, and I might have walked right through the B-roll, so we'll see. On Friday, my mom and I were wearing our matching cardigans, walking around, so that'd be really cool if I was in the official concert footage. I would be so excited for that. I can't wait to see whatever documentary they're putting together for this concert. I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal. And another cool thing that was pointed out is the little wristbands, the ones that light up during the show. They had special bigger light up wristbands for the filming, probably to make the crowd look way more lit up on camera, because they switched back to the normal ones today, Monday. So we hung out at the venue for a little bit, checked out all of the little photo shops. There wasn't anything I really wanted to purchase, so we walked around a bit, found our gate, made sure we know where to get dropped off the next day, and then we decided to Uber back to the hotel and get some sort of sleep because I was exhausted from driving from San Diego to LA 2 days in a row, and surprisingly I was actually more tired on Friday than I was on Saturday after seeing the entire show, which is kind of funny. So we get back to the hotel, and I even brought all of my bracelet stuff to make some last minute bracelets if I wanted to. And to be honest, I was just so exhausted I didn't have a chance to. And I thought going into this I wouldn't have enough bracelets, and my mom was helping me out. She dedicated a little bit of time every day to make some, and I sat down, and once you're going, you kind of get really efficient with it. And when we sat down and compiled all of our bracelets, we had about 70 of them. 70. So we had plenty to trade. I have 2 of them on my wrist right now. And they're actually ones that I made that I really liked. Anything that I really liked, I made duplicates of because I didn't want to feel sad giving them away. But I have this cute one right here. It says Exile, which is one of my favorite songs with Bon Iver. Love it. And then this is a cute one that says In My Lover Era. I just love the Lover era in general, and this makes me feel so happy. So we went back. Luckily, the picketers went home around 8:39-ish, so we could actually get some sort of sleep before they arrived bright and early the next morning, around 5:30 in the morning, with their air horns and their yelling. So sleeping wasn't really that pleasant in the morning, but after a while you kind of started to tune it out because it was constant the entire time. No breaks, just constant commotion. So we woke up on Saturday and decided we needed some sort of breakfast since the bar, restaurant / coffee shop thing was closed. Downstairs, we went over to the Carl's Jr. drive-thru, which is a few blocks right next to the hotel, which I love Carl's Jr. breakfast, so I was actually very excited for that. Brought it back to the hotel, ate it, and then started getting ready around 11 o'clock for the concert. I just really wanted to have plenty of time. I didn't want to be rushed, and I just wanted to soak in the whole experience. So the outfit that I wore to the venue was Anti-Hero Taylor, and I was so excited. I found a seller on Etsy who makes a lot of replica merch and costumes, and I was worried that my costume was not going to show up before the concert, and it arrived the week of. I was so excited, and the costume looked phenomenal. The gems on the little hot shorts are the gems on the little hot shorts were so sparkly, and then the top wasn't a bodysuit. It was more of it was like a tank top, which I almost liked better just because I didn't need the whole bodysuit while I was at the show for 7 hours. I also did my research and I found the exact tights that Taylor wears, which are 2 tights, by the way. So they're like fishnets and then some shimmery tights underneath. Essentially, I was wearing like the equivalent of Spanx for the show. So I was really cinched in. And then for the shoes, I just decided to go with the infamous sparkly boots. If you follow me at all, I was pining over these adorable white leather sparkly cowboy boots for the longest time. I finally pulled the trigger on them, and I haven't really had an experience to wear them to yet, so I decided to pair them with my outfit, and they turned out amazing. I was hoping that my feet wouldn't hurt very badly since I had sort of broken them in. I wasn't really quite sure since I had worn them once before, but everything worked out great. I saw other girls who did little gems on their face, like right above their eyes, and also in their hair. So I immediately ordered those on Amazon, and the little gems came with adhesive on the back already. So you just peel it off, stick it on, and they did not move. I did not lose a single gem on my face the whole night, which really shocked me. So I had gems on my face, on my hair. I had even some like face glitter that I put on, just glitter everywhere. I even did body glitter, like the body oil glitter, just glitter everywhere, glitter all over my hotel, just glitter for days, and it was so much fun. And I also got these last minute little heart-shaped glasses off Amazon, which were the perfect touch for the outfit. I'm so glad that it all worked out, and it turned out so cute. And of course, had to top it off with red lip. I wasn't thinking, and I was going to wear the Pat McGrath red lip that Taylor wears, and I forgot that. I was so bummed, but I wore this Natasha Denona. It wasn't a liquid lip, it's a lip bullet, and I didn't want to wear a lipstick because I was worried it might smear, but it did not move. It was comfortable. I didn't need to touch it up one time. So I highly recommend the Natasha Denona Nita Rouge Lip Stilettos. Phenomenal. So after I was all dressed and ready, I filmed some TikToks because I saw some fun little outfit transitions. I tried to do one slightly complicated one where you throw the shoe in the air and then you stomp and you're wearing the outfit, and the outtakes to that are hilarious. I'm going to put them on my TikTok and Instagram if you want to check them out, because I will not admit how many times that I filmed it to get it sort of right. I think it turned out pretty good though. So after I got ready, I prepped my bracelets and my little clear bag. Since our venue had a clear bag policy, I found these really cute ones on Amazon with stars on it. And then I cut any of the excess string off of the bracelets, and I went through them to pick the ones I wanted to keep versus the ones I wanted to give away, and I made a lot of duplicates just so I could keep a few of them. So I ended up wearing the ones I was keeping, and then all of the ones I gave away I just put on my bag string, which actually ended up working out well, because I know a lot of people have they're kind of like the shower rings, or even whenever you go to a salon and they have the nail swatches on a little metal ring, people were putting their bracelets on that, which I think is a great idea. But it's one thing that I didn't prep for, so I'm glad that ended up working out. I only had one bracelet fatality at the venue. It was a bracelet that I made that was really cheeky and fun. It was 1, 2, 3, let's go bitch. So LGB. I got some fun and hilarious ones traded to me. I didn't want to make any that said anything too outrageous, because I know Taylor has a lot of young fans, and it might be weirder coming from an elder Swiftie, I guess, if you would call me that, to like this 12-year-old. So I was very cognizant of what I put on the bracelets, but some girl gave me one that said folk whore, WHORE, which made me laugh. And then I got an iconic one that said fucked in the head, which I really wanted to make as well. And even though the concert's over, I still have all this bracelet making stuff. I still want to make bracelets. So if anybody wants me to mail them a bracelet, please let me know. I'm willing to do that for you. I think I'm going to do a TikTok with all the favorite bracelets that I got. So stick around for that. So we got to the venue around 4:20 on Saturday. The gates opened around 4:30, so we booked it right there. The line wasn't too long, actually, and there were just lines all over the place. So I got in what I thought was the line to the gate. Luckily, it ended up being the right line, but we were only standing there for about 20 minutes before the line was moving, and we got into the venue very quickly. We weren't in line very long at all, but it definitely got very long behind me after I had been standing for a bit. And it was cool because right when I got there, people immediately wanted to start trading bracelets when I was in line, and people were coming up to me, and I think it was because I was in my whole getup and I had this giant, you could see all of the bracelets that I was holding on my bag. So that was a lot of fun. We got to meet a lot of people in line. They were all so dang nice and so excited to be there. I loved seeing everybody all dressed up. And initially when I was making the bracelets, I almost felt sad at the thought of giving them away because I put so much work in them and they were so cute. But then when I was actually at the venue, it turned into excitement over people picking the bracelets that I loved. So we got in the venue immediately. It's gorgeous. There were a whole bunch of stairs. Going up to get into the level we needed to be at, and then there were some escalators for the nosebleeds, which is where we were going. So they had like fountains, and the YouTube theater was there, so we immediately wanted to get a few photos. So we would stop and my mom would take some photos for me, and people would see her taking pictures of me and immediately come up and offer and say, "Oh, do you want me to take a picture for you?" And I kid you not, we didn't ask a single person all night to take a photo for us because everybody was offering. They were just so kind, and I was thinking about it, and there were no rude people that we ran into at all. Everyone wanted to take photos, and no one was disrespectful if somebody was holding up the line for a photo op. And also, I just felt really safe in the venue. Before I went, I had heard other people saying that they had never felt safer at any concert than a Taylor Swift concert, and that's definitely true because I was in this cute little tiny outfit, my ass was out, and there was mostly girls at the venue, the girls, the gays, and the boyfriends that were dragged there by their girlfriends. And it was just overall a really cool environment to be in, and everyone was just so excited to be there. Took a couple photos and then immediately beeline it to the merch line in the venue. So I hadn't been in the venue prior since I didn't have a ticket. I couldn't see it on Friday, but immediately I went in and it was very clear where the merch was because there was already a pretty long line forming. So we also saw the Capital One had a booth, and I don't know if you've seen some of the little gifts that people post, but it's Capital One had a photo op where you could go into this little green screen room, and then all of the Taylors in her era showed up behind you, and I think they would email you the little video clip of you. And for a second, my mom and I got in that line, and I was thinking to myself, I don't want to waste my time in this line. I want the merch. So we got out of the line, beelined it straight to the merch line, and I prepared myself for the Great War. I told myself I was going to be there for 3 hours, and even if I was there for 3 hours, we would still be in our seats before Taylor took the stage, so I was ready for that. And honestly, the line was not bad at all. Everyone was so nice in the line, and standing in the line for quite a while, everybody was trading bracelets in the line. I think I got rid of almost all of my bracelets while I was standing in line for merch, and we were only in line for about an hour and a half, which is nothing compared to the 6-hour horror story people were telling me. By the end of it, I was kind of getting a little tired. My feet were hurting a little bit because there was nowhere to sit. But we made it to the front of the line, and they had every single piece of merch there. I asked the woman, I say, "Do you have the blue crew neck?" And she looks at me like, "Yes." Like, duh. And I'm like, "Perfect. I'll take a size large of that." She brings it over, presents it, and she says, anything else? And I'm like, no, I think that's it. And she goes, that's it? Like, so surprised that I didn't want more, but I had stocked the merch that I wanted before I showed up, and I decided I didn't need anything else. I already am pretty chaotic with the merch and own way too much. Arguably, a lot of the stuff looks pretty similar, but I wanted something from the concert, a concert exclusive. I just felt like for me, it was really part of the experience. It's a memorabilia I can have and cherish and remember the day. And that's kind of what it symbolizes to me. I know a lot of people think merch is silly, but for me, this is a concert I was really looking forward to, an artist that I knew every single lyric for. So for me, standing in line for the merch was completely worth it. So as I mentioned previously, the blue hoodie was only available in the venue, and they did do a limit for 2 per person, which is very smart. I don't know why they didn't have a limit beforehand, but when I saw the sign on the hoodie before I got in line, I was worried that it would say unavailable because it said that outside the venue, since they weren't selling it outside the venue. But the hoodie was still available. When I got to the front of the line, I was so excited. The girl behind me had gotten everything that she wanted to. So it made me think that they bumped up the merch, seeing how high demand everything was, or maybe it was just because I beelined it straight to the merch line and I knew exactly what I wanted, so I prioritized it. So I secured the blue crew neck. I'm wearing it today. I'm never taking it off. I am so excited. Like I said, I was prepared to walk away empty-handed just because that's what happened to me previously on record store day. So I'm just really excited that that went right for me, and it just started things off on a really good note, and I was very excited. And then we got out the line. I took a picture with my merch bag, and it was then we turned our priorities to trying to figure out where the hell our seats were. So we took a few more photos, and one of the security guards, actually I think it was a police officer, offered to come and take some photos of me and my mom inside the venue, which was so nice. And I just want to note also, when I got out of the merch line, I looked back and it was longer than it had been when I first got in it. And I was thinking to myself, whoever was in the back of the line right when I got out was definitely in there when Taylor started her set, because it was at least a 2-hour line at that point, and we had missed the first opener, who was Gail. So I was standing in line when she performed her set, and I think the openers performed for about an hour each. So for our show, it was Gail and Haim. So we went out and ventured to try to find our seats. There were a couple of ushers around, but really there weren't concerts I had experienced previously. There's typically ushers that will check your ticket whenever you want to go into a new section, just to make sure you're not in the wrong place. But I didn't really see anything like that at the venue I was at. I think maybe because the sections were, like I said, each gate was separated, and then they probably have ample security in the lower bowl area. So looping back to the merch, I was really excited to pay with Apple Pay, which I had just set up last week since it's a cashless venue. So heads up, most of the venues are cashless. If you have that, it makes things so dang easy, so you don't have to fumble around with your debit card or anything like that, especially since the whole experience can be a little overwhelming and a little chaotic. It's just one less thing you have to worry about. So before I go into getting to our seats, I just want to give my recommendations for if you want merch. This is based on my experience and what I've heard and what worked for me. So, like I said, it's all part of the experience for me. I personally think you should not go to an early merch day. I know there was early merch on Thursday and I think Sunday, and people were camping out overnight, lining up in lines for like 8 hours for this merch they wanted. To me, that is not worth it. I just showed up right when the gates open. Find out when the gates open, show up, and then immediately beeline it straight to the merch line. I guarantee you it won't be as bad and you won't be waiting as long. When I did that, I waited in my line for about an hour and a half, which is nothing compared to all of the crazy wait times you've heard about. and they had everything in all the sizes. So at this point, we're trying to figure out where our seats are, and some girls run, like they're running. They run straight up to me and they scream, "Do you want to trade bracelets with us?" And it was the cutest thing ever. So we stopped, traded a few bracelets, and then they had like a little escalator to go up to the top section of the seats. I made it to our seats, and they had the little light up bracelets and the cup holders there. And personally, I didn't want to get any sort of food or drink. I didn't want to get up and have to use the restroom during the show because I wanted to experience every single second of the set. So we got to our seats, and surprisingly didn't trade any bracelets while we were sitting down with our neighbors. Haim was about maybe a third through their set, so we got to see quite a bit of their songs. I don't know tons of them. I know they sing Nobody No Crime with Taylor, and then Gasoline with Taylor, and then there's one other song of theirs I know that's a pretty popular one, but the name fails me right now. So I got to hear that while they were doing their set, which was a lot of fun. So we had to take some photos while we were sitting down and waiting for Taylor to come on. So Taylor comes on around 8:30 p.m. and it was pretty cool because the stadium we were in was an outdoor stadium, but it was covered. So you get the breeze from outside, but because it's technically covered, it kind of keeps the warmth in, so I wasn't too cold when it got dark. And then if it would have started raining as well, we wouldn't have been drenched, which I really liked. So immediately when the little clock starts counting down to Taylor starting her show, every single person in the stadium stands up, which was pretty neat, and every person in the stadium stood for pretty much the entire show and knew every single lyric. It was really something to experience. So Taylor takes the stage. She opens up, as we all know by now because everybody has been streaming the shows, and I tried really hard not to watch all of the live streams because I wanted to be a little bit surprised. But she opens up the show with Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, and has these amazing, people are wearing these big, it's hard to describe, these big colorful fan pieces on them, and the lights go out right before she takes the stage. Everybody starts screaming, and she starts the show with the line, "It's been a long time coming," and goes straight into the song. And it was just such a cool way to start the show, especially since she hasn't toured in about 5 years now. Her last tour was canceled because of COVID. She was supposed to tour for her Lover album, and she had a festival planned called Lover Fest. So her set alone was about 3 hours, and it was quite an experience. Everything went by so quickly, but it didn't feel like the show ended too quick. It didn't feel like it was too long. It was really just the perfect amount of time, and you really felt like you got your money's worth. So every show, as we also know, she does 2 surprise songs, and apparently for Friday and Saturday, she did the same surprise songs and had the same outfits as well. All of the fans online like to guess what variations of the outfit she wears every show. It's kind of like a game to them, which, if you don't know, she has multiple outfit changes, which of course she also has multiple versions of each outfit, just in case, one of them needs to be cleaned or breaks. She's got backups on hand, and they're all slightly different. So I believe since they were filming, she did the same surprise songs both nights and wore the same outfits both nights. So for my show on night 3, the surprise songs were Death by a Thousand Cuts, which is from her Lover album, and I love that song. She did it on guitar. So the second surprise song of the night was You're on Your Own, Kid, and she did a piano rendition of that, and it's from her Midnights album. I love that song. They were both amazing ones. The only other song that I know she played, and I would have loved if she played at my show, was Right Where You Left Me, and it's a bonus track from, I believe, her... is it Evermore or Folklore? But it's like a very random favorite of mine to have, since the song is basically about a girl who gets broken up with in a restaurant, and she's there frozen in time, essentially. So I would love to hear that song, but I was really happy with the surprise songs that I got during my show. My feet hurt tremendously by the end of the night, and I think it wasn't because of the boots. It was mostly because of the 2 pairs of tights I was wearing that were crushing my toes. They were bound so tight, so my feet hurt so badly as we were walking out of the venue and trying to hail down an Uber. But surprisingly, the next morning, my feet did not hurt at all. I think it's because my mom insisted that I take 2 Advil before I go to sleep, and honestly, it worked. There's some speculation that she might release 1989, Taylor's version, on the last day of the U.S. tour, which is LA on Wednesday, 8/9 for 1989, and I can see how people think that, and here's why I think she won't. So she just released Speak Now, Taylor's version, and before that she released Red, Taylor's version 1 year before that. And I feel like she really wants to give this re-recording its time under the sun. It makes the most sense for marketing. And I know for a while, before Speak Now was announced, they thought she was just going to announce all of her re-recordings and drop them all at once, which is kind of a ridiculous theory because she wants to give every single re-recording its moment. And it's also really smart from a financial standpoint because you can market it and everybody wants to buy all of the merch drops for each album. So I don't think it's going to happen. What do you think? I mean, it is a really good fan theory though, because I see some really crazy theories that I think that makes 0 sense whatsoever. But this one almost makes me think, well, would she? I think she will drop it during the Eras tour, but definitely not quite yet. She is going to be touring internationally in 2024, so I think that's more likely. Furthermore, I can really see how people go to multiple shows. The visual effects were freaking amazing. The stage is basically one giant screen, and the visual effects are freaking amazing. Taylor puts on a hell of a show. I really think she loves performing. You can tell that her dancers love working for her, and she treats her employees really well. In an interview, she mentioned that her musicians get health insurance. When I think she was on David Letterman, he was joking that being a musician doesn't really have much security, which it doesn't, and that you don't get health insurance or anything like that. And she quickly retorted, "Mine do," and she was really proud to say that. So, and then the last show stop she was at in Santa Clarita, it went viral that she gave bonuses to all of her truck drivers that drive her set all around the US leg of the tour, and she gave them $100,000 in bonus each. So overall, I think she's given $55 million away in bonuses to her employees, which I don't see Beyonce doing anything like that. So that's really something. Overall, I would say this is the best first Taylor concert I could have possibly gone to, especially since she sang songs from every single era, and I'm so amped. It was really one of the best experiences, and I am so grateful I got to go. One of the best days of my life, and I joke with my boyfriend, meeting him was second and seeing Taylor was first. So I think I'm going to dedicate this entire podcast to my Eras Tour experience. It's going to be the ultimate recap. I hope you got some tips out of it. Have you been to a show yet? Are you planning to go? Have you been to multiple shows? Let me know. I think I'll do a little poll for this podcast. So please vote and tell me about your Eras Tour experience. All the pop culture stuff that I had noted, I'm going to save for next week. So as always, I appreciate you joining me for this podcast, and I will see you in next week's episode. Bye, guys.